I'm at South Station today, after a very loud Red Line journey. Waiting for a different train. A train that will take me to a place you probably don't know much about. Greenbush. The Greenbush line's history is frankly disappointing. And it's one of the biggest region planning screw-ups in Boston's long and storied history. So let's tap on and take a trip to Greenbush, exploring Boston's least used and strangest commuter rail line. The Greenbush line is part of the wider Old Colony group of lines, which departs South Station to, well, the south. We parallel the Red Line subway for an extensive period of time, with several interchange points being JFK UMass, which my train didn't stop at today, and Quincy Center. Some trains that continue further south also stop at Braintree. We soon pick up speed and run express through JFK UMass. Then, after another mile or so, the Ashmont branch splits off from us, and we continue trundling along through Dorchester, racing a Red Line train bound for Braintree. We then slow, being overtaken by that pesky Braintree train, and pass over the Neponset River Bridge, with the Dorchester Hills providing an imposing backdrop. But back at ground level, we accelerate once more, overtaking the Red Line train which so rudely overtook us before, and then arrive at Quincy Center. Moving through the dimly lit Quincy Center, the tracks then make a very sharp turn to head east. It's not long before we drop into a cutting and pass through East Braintree Weymouth Landing. Wow, entirely grade separated, you may think. It is also worth noting that this station has the tightest letter spacing out of any MBTA stop, at least that I know of. Not that the two passengers who got off my train would mind. After accelerating once more, we make a few more curves through the town of Weymouth, before arriving at East Weymouth. And when you look out, you will notice a common sight for the Greenbush line. Parking. Lots of parking. 3 spaces of which were occupied. A few minutes later, we arrive at West Hingham, with yet more parking, and a country club. But not long after West Hingham, we descend into a tunnel, directly through Hingham Center, without a station. Hingham is a relatively dense town, especially for this part of the South Shore. But still, no station? This means that Hingham is in the unique position of having a full commuter rail service through their town center, entirely grade separated, but they can't even use it. As we exit the tunnel, you can see the land that was once dedicated to Hingham Station, but now it's just a parking lot for the surrounding businesses. Continuing through the architecturally stunning Nantasket Junction and its empty parking lot, where we stopped for literally all of 20 seconds, letting a single person alight, I would like you to enjoy this brief intermission, bringing you all the land use around Nantasket Junction. Next, we arrive at Cohasset, not even 2 miles later, which is much the same from an architectural perspective. Again, there isn't much surrounding the station, just a parking lot and this single, debatably transit-oriented development. Not long after departing Cohasset Station, we approach yet another large town, this time at ground level. This is the town of Cohasset. Cohasset is another large town for the South Coast, with a dense town center, but there's no station here. Instead, the Cohasset train station is located 2 miles away, adjacent to nothing but its own parking lot. We pass through North Scituate next, with a train station that actually serves its town center. But at the same time, North Scituate is nowhere near as densely populated as the previous 2 towns, so this is but a small improvement. Even after that, there's still a large parking lot, catering to 4 highly dispersed parked cars. After North Scituate, we roll through mostly forests and picturesque meadows, with the occasional level crossing offering a glimpse into these isolated suburbs of Boston. But before long, our train screeches to a halt at Greenbush. Greenbush Station, unlike the previous stops on the line, appears to be fairly well used, with a full 6 parked cars on the adjacent asphalt slab. I even noticed that the bike parking was in use, with bikes even outnumbering cars at Nantasket Junction. There are transit-oriented developments springing up around the station site, and the station itself seems to be fairly well put together. Strangely enough, this station also has a name, Frank M. Hines Station at Greenbush. This stop also has a really interesting layout, with the single platform track being supplemented by an additional 4 in the yard. 3 of these tracks were in use when I visited, so make of that what you will. Also, when I wandered down to the end of the platform, I saw this sign optimistically implying that they could fill an 8-car train on this line, whereas when I came, they just used a single 2/3 empty bi-level car. Anyways, the final station on the Greenbush line isn't actually that bad, at least in context. But the keen among you will have noticed something. All the stations on this line are high platform. There are numerous relatively significant grade separations, especially the tunnel through Hingham or the trench station at East Braintree Weymouth Landing. Compare this to other commuter rail lines that struggle with land use around their stations, like the Fitchburg line, for example. Let's look at one of its stations, Shirley. Shirley has a basic shelter, and the platform that you see in this shot doesn't even continue behind the camera. What you see here is what you get. This is important because the Fitchburg line has been around for centuries, but stations like Cohasset and Nantasket Junction, with similar, arguably worse, land use, look modern, and they have extensive station facilities. These stations weren't built in the 1800s, where you just put a shack in the middle of nowhere because why not? These stations were built in 2007, the same year Copenhagen built its metro to the airport, the same year Taiwan launched its high-speed rail, and Boston decided to build this? And of course, any transit expansion project of this scale is noteworthy, but the Greenbush line is Boston's least used commuter rail route. So I can't help but wonder, what if the investment into tunneling through Hingham or building stations in the middle of nowhere, adorned with asphalt craters, were put into the tangible improvement for the rest of the network? South Station is a dump. What if we put the money we used on the Greenbush line into fixing something that literally 10 times as many people would use? The Greenbush line is problematic because it was planned like it was going to be built in the 60s, during the era of true commuter rail. But that model became obsolete in the 90s at the very latest, and the Greenbush line was built in the late 2000s. But on the flip side, the MBTA's newest project, South Coast Rail, is a pretty good one, in my opinion. And while the land use around some stations is still questionable, you can tell that planners are beginning to get with the times. So when the MBTA looks forward to whatever their next big commuter rail project is going to be, I just hope they don't make the same mistakes made by the Greenbush line. Thank you to everyone who has stayed around till the end of this video. I really appreciate all of your support towards this channel. It means a lot to me. Thank you to those of you who have already subscribed, and to those considering subscribing. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. But it's time for me to get the train home. Greenbush may be an interesting place to visit, but it wouldn't be pleasant for an extended stay. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all again for your support, and I'll see you around.